I feel like the biggest problems I face as a girl is the equality with men, and it's like girls can't do this, but boys can, and I feel like we need to like do something about that.
Why is it a problem?
I feel like everybody's equal and they can do whatever they put their mind to, and it shouldn't matter if you're a boy or a girl.
I think just the fact that girl empowerment, women empowerment is in the forefront of the news. Someone is talking about it every day. I think that will make a difference. I think when you speak up and stand up for what you believe in and protest for what you believe in and let others know, it's all about education and saying yes I can instead of I can't. I think that has changed. In the past, a lot of it was pushed under the rug. A lot of it was hush hush because we were told don't tell anyone. But that's not the trend today. I think most people understand, or most young girls and women understand today that they need to speak up and be heard. So I think that's the biggest change.
More boys think that women or teenage girls can't do what they do. Like, as an example, a firefighter, police officer, a football player, basketball player. They just feel like it's more for them and it could be equal and for everybody. Say like some of my friends, they like to play basketball and boys would like say that they're not good enough or you can't beat me, and it's not the point that, it's not the fact that if they could beat them, it's the point that they're good and they could beat their rival team. And like, say when I get older I want to be a doctor or a cop, maybe some people may look at me because I'm a lady. Like, say if I was a lawyer and somebody got arrested and they just looked at me and like, wow, I have a girl and not a guy. They don't think that girls could do what guys can do, and sometimes girls is just more better.
The biggest problem I faced as a girl was not loving myself enough. I have been plus size since I think the age of 6, and I remember when I started to gain weight, it was made very evident in my family, and both my parents are from Kingston, Jamaica. The Caribbean culture is not necessarily cuddly and soft and warm all the time, so they really didn't talk to me in a loving, supportive way about my weight, and so then I started to bully myself, and I really struggled with how big I was getting. Also, I was fairly tall. I'm 5'8", and I was pretty much my height at like age 13, so I was probably one of the taller girls in class. Also, I was a talker and I was smart, and that was something that wasn't necessarily embraced in media and stuff. So it seemed to me as growing up that there was always something wrong with me, and so because of that and because I didn't embrace having high self-esteem, I struggled with not loving myself, and that made literally my life so much harder.
Do you think today's girls face the same problem?
Yes, I think it's actually worse now because they can bully themselves and be bullied 24/7 with the advent of social media. Their self-perception is constantly being addressed in person, online. Also, we don't live in overwhelmingly more progressed society because people are still focused on how you look, what type of hair you have, what kind of skin color you have, how tall you are, how short you are, how fat you are, how thin you are, how wide you are, are you sexy, are you cute, are you fun? There's a lot of this kind of objectification that's going on, and so I think it's a little bit worse because now kids are talking about maybe things that what I would have started talking about at 13, they're talking about at 6, right? And I think what's interesting is a lot of women, right, who were not necessarily mostly empowered as kids, they grow up and they still have that inner bully and they say terrible things to themselves, so then they create a second generation of saying bad things to themselves, and then their kids hear that. So, it's not, it would things would be better if, say, maybe 10, 20 years ago, the women like were able to overcome a lot of these challenges. So then when they had children, then their children knew better. But I think we're just having generation upon generation of this self-hatred, this self-stigmatizing, this self-bullying. And so I don't think it's better. I think it's worse.
How have things changed?
Maybe you have, because sexuality is more of a mainstream conversation with the LGBTQ or LGBTQ, the lesbian, gay, queer, cisgender, trans, that community, because that community is more outward about what they feel and what's happening to their lives. I think we have sexuality and that conversation more public, more so than I would say now, and that's helpful because there are kids who are of that community who now feel a little bit more represented than, say, they did when I was growing up. So I think that sexual fluidity is something that's changed for the better. You definitely see more people that look different. So whether you're Black, whether you're Native American, whether you're Hispanic, you see a little bit more diversity. The needle hasn't moved that much, but it is moved more than when I was a kid. So that's been a positive transition. And then also the conversation of, so I would say 20 years ago, if a girl was assertive, she was bossy, right? And now we have campaigns and people, thought leaders, organizations that are saying, cut that out. Girls who know what they want are empowered, and that's beautiful, and that's exactly the type of world that we need. We need to have women, men, children, whatever you declare yourself, knowing that you are okay just the way you are, and we have more of a public conversation around that, so I think that that's changed as well.
What do you see as a solution?
Solution for self-love, or okay. I think just more and more representation, right? If I could have grown up and seen a big Black girl with curly hair and wide hips, I would have felt amazing. I would have said, wow, she's me, and that means that I could be whatever I want to be. You have to see something to achieve it. And if you don't see it, then you question what you are, because you don't have that representation kind of guiding you along the way, saying, hey, sister, I made it, so you can too. If girls and boys don't see this, then they struggle with it. So more representation of gender, again, being of different sexual orientation, more representation of people who are Black, who look different, right? We don't just have to have light skin or dark skin, but let's have the spectrum, because all people of different backgrounds have multiple different shades and sizes and shapes that they come in. Let's see that, right? Let's stop curving the conversation around a community in binary terms. It's not helping. It's not helping everyone in between. It's only helping or showing, this is what these people want, these are what these people want, but what about everybody in between? Also, having conversations in school. I think probably the biggest deficiency in the educational system is the fact that we sometimes just focus too much on the educational piece and not the life skills, right? Because yes, algebra can be important if that is actually like practice in your career, but it's also really important knowing how to balance a checkbook, knowing what financial well-being means, knowing when you need to seek help for mental health issues, knowing how to deal with nutritional issues and eating habits. We have to teach people how to live. And a part of that is also self-esteem, understanding your culture, understanding why it's important to be proud to be Latina, to be proud to be Native American, to be proud to be from the Caribbean. Like, you have to teach people the ability to live a more fulfilling, holistic life. And so that, I think, is education, representation, and just events like this. Having Long Island Girl Talks, first annual Girl Empowerment Conference, is an opportunity for girls from everywhere to come in a safe space, learn, network, and be more insightful about the type of girl they want to be in this world. And that is what's going to make the change in this world.
The biggest problem would probably be like people saying that women aren't good enough, that we have to like work twice as hard as as women, and that like we can't do certain things, or like we're not smart enough, and that we can't do like sports and other things like that.
Why is it a problem?
Because we don't get certain opportunities as men have.
The biggest problem I faced would probably be hearing other people saying that it cannot be done. And I, over a period of time, realized that I just didn't believe in the word no. Because I continued to hear the word, no, you can't do this. No, you shouldn't say this. No, you can't go there. And it was hard to hear that word because I didn't understand why. But because of issues like racism and sexism, and in some cases poverty, I understand now why people said no, because the expectations were low. And so as a young girl, I had to learn to rise above those expectations.
Do you think today's girls face the same problem?
Absolutely. I think that sexism is everywhere. I think internalized racism is everywhere. I think that for some young girls of color, that colorism is everywhere we are, that some girls treat us differently based on our skin complexion or our hair texture, and then sometimes we internalize those feelings as well. I think the media attacks us in terms of our self-esteem. I think that the rise and growth of social media also challenges us and sometimes causes us to question our self-worth. So I think that the girls today experience all of these things, and it's daily.
How have things changed?
How have things changed? I think today girls have really strong positive role models. They have people who have actually successfully broken down the barriers. So you can see women in soccer, you can see women in athletics, you can see women in law, you can see women in media, in education, in the business world, wherever you might be. You see strong women, you see role models, you see women who have challenged all of the low expectations, who have challenged a lot of the society's expectations for women and standards. And women have gone beyond that. And now young girls have positive role models that they can once again look up to.
What do you see as a solution?
What do I see as a solution? I think we have to continue to speak life into the lives of our girls. I think we have to teach girls that they're not to really compete against each other, but that they should empower each other, and that we should embrace sisterhood.
I feel like I'm brought down a lot just because I'm female. I'm told I can't do certain things that guys can do but girls can't.
Why is it a problem?
Because society views women as less than men, and if we grow up in a patriarchal society, so they feel like men are entitled to more than women just because they're born with different parts.
I face people trying to judge me by my weight or my skin tone.
And why is it a problem?
Well, now, you have to look a certain way. Your body has to be a certain way, or if you're too dark, it's a problem. Even if you're too light, it's a problem. It's just...
What do you see as a solution?
I think everyone should embrace their looks more, because usually it's the people that are your same skin tone, or maybe used to be big or isn't that big, that is the one that's to say something about it. So I feel like if people embrace themselves more, then we wouldn't have this problem.
I grew up in the South, and racial discrimination was a big problem. There was discrimination in jobs, employment. There was discrimination in schools. We didn't get the better books when I was growing up. So I would say racial discrimination was probably a big problem. And there were places that you couldn't go, and you couldn't, certain restaurants you couldn't go into, you couldn't eat in, and hotels and stuff you couldn't check into.
Do you think today's girls face the same problem?
I think they face some racial discrimination, but in a different way, because you can't. It's a totally different way. They're not as much. There's not as much discrimination, I don't think, in the educational system as it used to be, and in facilities as it used to be. So I think they do face discrimination, but I think it's more gender now than race.
How have things changed?
Well, recently, like I say, I do think there's still racial discrimination, but I think it's just on a different level. Things have changed in that now, recently, gender bias is definitely being addressed with the Me Too movement and, some of the movements that are going on right now. So, some of the gender discrimination is being looked into
What do you see as a solution?
as a solution to the problem. I don't know. Maybe blending. I think people wouldn't be so apt to discriminate if the races were a little more, more blended. And I see a lot of that too. I don't know. I just think maybe sometimes just putting yourself in somebody else's place could make a difference. And talk. Not just talk though, action too, because I think we talked a lot.
The problems that I faced as a girl was that I've been bullied, and I'm trying to stop them from bullying me, but I tell the teacher that's the right thing to do, so I tell the teacher do the right thing, so then it could be a problem for the bully.
Why is it a problem for you, what you've been through?
It was a problem because I get like so many comments that I'm annoying or I'm rude, disrespectful, and I'm not being nice to them. And I just get that so much, like every time I get those comments, like I'm like hurt, like why would you say that about me? And I couldn't thought of that, but I would think that I want to be myself, so I'm being the best of myself, not what other people think. So that's what I thought in myself, so I'm going to be the best of me and not someone who cares about me, like who thinks of me, who says about me, nothing. I just think of myself and I.
Oh, the biggest problem I faced when I was growing up, I had to help my mother raise my sisters and brothers, and worked on the farm, because I'm from South Carolina, a small town you call Barnwell. And we had our own business as a child coming up, and I had to do a lot of choices. I started cooking when I was 6 years old. And as growing up, I had a lot of good days, and I had some bad days. And not like the children are today. But I enjoy my time as a youngster growing up, and I enjoy my brothers and sisters. Now, got married in New York. Living in New York. My kids are grown. They have their own children. I'm a mother, 8 grandkids and 1 great-grand. So, as an adult, I faced some hardships, but I did very well. I worked, and my theme is I worked with kids all my life practically. And now I wanted to retire, but it looked like to me I'm not going to be able to, because they're always looking for their mother to help them.
Do you think girls face the same problem today?
Oh, face the same problem today? Some do and some don't. Because young girls does not look at life like we did when we was coming up. We wanted a family. And we wanted, first, we want to go to school, finish school. After we finished school, then we had our family, and we worked with the kids and teach them how to be young ladies and young men. But the girls today, they don't have the fun and enjoy what they would like to, because the world is different now.
How have things changed?
How things change? Well, it's not really, it's changed a lot, because things are not like when I was a child coming up, that we had parents that would help you. You have too many younger parents are having children too young, and they don't realize it's a hardship on them today. And it's very, very hard, because you have to work 2 jobs in order to make ends meet, pay your rent, buy your food. And that's where it's different. That's where the different come in at.
What do you see as a solution?
Hmm?
What do you see as a solution?
As a solution? Well, what I see as a solution, the people has to change. Because if they don't change, our youngsters gonna really have a hard time in this world now. And they are having a hard time. It's more gun violence. It's not family, it's not orientation like they should be. Like we was kids coming up back in the 60s and the 70s. I noticed that parents does not talk to their children like they should, sit down with them around the dinner table and have a conversation with them, telling them what they should do, and what they should not do in order to make it in this world.
The biggest problem that I face as a girl is that boys down me, that I can't do things that they do.
And why is that a problem?
Because they think they are stronger and they can do better things. But to be honest, we could do that too. And we could achieve to do better and strive as much as they do.
I guess I would have to say opportunities. Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Like, many people in this industry, they would look for a certain type of someone, like, like race or physical appearance. And usually most black women don't have those opportunities, because I feel like most of them aren't like wanted, I guess, if that makes sense. And there's more of the light skins or white women more in like the movies and the TV shows and stuff, and I just feel like they have more of the opportunity, and more black women would want that, but it's kind of hard, so they have to push harder to try to get that, if that's what that's what they would want.
Why is this a problem?
I guess history from just slavery, and then just human rights, and just equality in general. And it's always been, if you think about it, white power. The whites have always been in power, so the blacks, they have always been underneath. So I feel like it's our time now to just for all of us to be on like an equal level, and just for us to just strive and be better as just a black population, and in this world,
A deliberate and conscious effort to learn about our history, and maybe not just our history, because Black history is also American history as well, but learn about other cultures also, so you can get to a place where you don't tolerate other cultures, but you celebrate those cultures, you embrace those cultures. And that's one of the things that I had growing up in Washington Heights. My neighborhood was diverse, and I looked to that as being something very, very special and very dear, growing up as a city kid and being in Washington Heights, where my friends were from Puerto Rico and they were from Cuba. We had very special relationships. We understood traditions and culture and the language and the food and the music. Those things I know shaped and molded how I think today about other cultures and how I value other cultures because of that early exposure.